Hello everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So some of you have been asking for a review of the Janome 230DC sewing machine. So I've had this sewing machine for almost a year now, but I didn't actually use it for the first 6 months when I had it because I was too busy doing my master's degree. But since I finished that back in January and now we've gone into lockdown, I've got plenty of time on my hand to now show you and tell you what this machine is really like. Any questions you have about this sewing machine that I don't cover in this video, just leave your comments down below and I'll do my best to answer them. So I hope you find this review useful and let's get into it. So where to begin? So I don't actually have many complaints about the sewing machine. It is just a bog standard sewing machine that's just a little bit more advanced but very good for the price. And I had a lot of questions in my last video about what kind of fabrics this machine can do, so I'm just going to go through that with you. So as I also mentioned in my last video, you have the instruction booklet manual that you keep with you and as close to the machine as possible. So in this instruction booklet there is actually a page about fabrics. There's a little chart in there that tells you what kind of fabrics this machine can do, what threads it can use and what needles to use for those fabrics. So this machine can do a wide variety of fabrics, so you're looking at lawn, georgette, tricot, organza, crepe, and then with your medium weight fabrics you've got sheeting, jersey, broadcloth, fleece, and then also your heavyweight fabrics, denim, tweed, coating and quilting. However, one thing to mention is that the thicker the fabric you use, the different needle size you're going to need. If you're just going to do some general sewing, you are going to use a 1175 or 1490 needle. For lighter weight fabrics you can go down to a 965, and then for heavier weight fabrics you can go up to a 16100 needle size. The idea is that you want the needle to pierce through the fabric with ease without it pulling, stretching and so forth. One other question I get asked is whether this machine can do faux leather or pleather as it also is known. I did a quick test to see whether it can and I've not found any issues with it, but I know with my last sewing machine it absolutely hated it and then the machine would no longer stitch straight after me trying to use pleather with it. I sort of recommend that you do it with caution and just be wary that you may need to change the tension of the sewing machine. My last recommendation is do not try fur with this machine. I've seen a fur machine and the way that they sew is that they poke holes outwards, like towards you so to speak, as opposed to stitching down fur. You don't want little bits of fur getting into your machine, clogging it up and then in the end making the machine completely unfunctionable. And I don't say this because I've tried it, I say this because I've seen a fur machine, so I've kind of got an idea that this isn't the way to stitch fur. So this machine comes with a variety of different feet and I'll just give you a quick demo of each one and what they will do. So you have your standard foot, which will do your straight stitch and side stitch. Your locomatic stitch, I think that's how you say it, which will just auto secure the beginning and the end of your stitch, and the locking stitch will also do the exact same thing, but this is a little bit more invisible. You also have your triple stretch stitch, which is used for stretch fabrics, making them more durable. Your stretch stitch, used to avoid puckering on knit fabrics and bias seams. Then you also have your zigzag stitch, which can adjust the width and length of. Your multiple zigzag stitch, used to finish seams on synthetic fabrics that tend to pucker. Also you have your patchwork stitches, so this one here you would use your standard foot for. And then you would switch to a satin stitch foot and finish off your patchwork. Moving on to your satin stitch foot, you have your sculpture stitch, used for top stitching and outlining designs. You also have your tracking stitch, this is used to reinforce pockets, crotches or belt carriers. And then we have shell tuck stitch, used for lightweight fabrics. And also you have two different types of applique stitches to add on any applique. Then you also have your bridging, which is a design stitch which allows you to have a gap within your garment. There's your satin stitch, which is a design stitch but you get better results with it if you use interfacing. And then also with the satin stitch foot there are several decorative stitches that you can play around with. Also with the satin stitch foot you can actually stitch buttons on with this. Then we also have an eyelet, and you can adjust the size of this and make it bigger or smaller. Then you have an over edge foot, which is used to neaten seams, so you can use this on the zigzag stitch and also the over edge stitch. There's also a blind hem foot you can use, and you guessed it, it does blind hemming. So one of the things that I really liked about this machine is that it can automatically do buttonholes. So with the buttonhole foot, you can begin by measuring the size of your button. You do this by placing the button at the back here and pushing it back to fit your button snugly. And then you add the foot onto the machine, adjust the settings, and off it goes. There are 3 different buttonholes to choose from, so you can have square, round-ended, and keyhole. We also have this daring stitch, which I believe is a stitch used to mend fabrics with tears or holes in them, but I'm not 100% sure. And then of course you get a zipper foot with this machine, which allows you to put zips into your projects. So one other thing I like about this machine is that it has a computerized screen. Now on this screen it will tell you what foot to use and whether you need the buttonhole lever. It has a button to move your needle up and down, as well as the hand wheel. You also have an auto lock button, a reverse stitch button, and a start stop button which resets your stitches. So on this machine there is an arm which has a storage unit inside, and if you buy the right machine you can also get an extension table with it. I find the extension table absolutely beneficial as it allows the machine to stitch straight. I personally prefer an industrial machine over a domestic, but cannot afford an industrial machine, and the way industrial machines are is that the needle is at table length as opposed to being raised. So the extension table just helps with that ease, and I personally prefer it. I'm not quite a fan of having to stitch over an arm rather than it just be flat and me just stitch straight. I'm a fast sewer. Also on this machine you can adjust the speed of the needles, so if you prefer to stitch slower and you're not confident sewer, then you can actually make the machine go slower. If you're someone like me, completely experienced, and you like the machine to go faster, this machine for me is not fast enough, but it can go faster, so you can adjust the speed of the machine to your comfort. So this machine is also easy to thread out. I should also mention it has an automatic threader. I personally don't need to do this because at the moment I have good eyesight and I can thread a needle very easily, but it does have an automatic threader if you do prefer. Also, one thing I like about this machine, it does come with a troubleshooting page at the back of the booklet. Some machines that I've had in the past had a troubleshooting out page, but it was very vague, didn't really tell you how to fix the machine, whereas this tells you in great detail what it is that's gone wrong in your machine and how you should adjust it to fix the problem. In the year that I've had this machine, I've had absolutely no issues, so I've had no threads bulking at the bottom or at the back of my fabrics, it's not caught it or in any way. I've absolutely had no issues, nothing's gone wrong. I've been able to set up the machine and then just stitch. So after a year of usage, I've had no issues. One thing I do is keep the machine clean inside, so get yourself like a little brush, it does come with a little brush, and just wipe away all the dust particles inside the machine as best you can, just to keep the machine going through with ease. Overall, I highly recommend this sewing machine. It's a good upgrade if you just have a normal machine, maybe without the computerized screen. In terms of its brand, I find brands the same way as I buy my cameras. Once you stick to one brand, it's very difficult to persuade someone to waver from a brand. So for me, I had a Janome machine before, so I was looking for a Janome machine again to go with all the accessories that I had previously bought with Janome. Another really good brand is Brother. I have a Brother overlocker that I absolutely love, and if you wish for me to do a review on that, just leave a comment down below. I think there's only 2 criticisms about this machine, is that 1, it's not fast enough, but you get that with a domestic, and 2, I don't know why, but my machine's gone slightly orange. I don't know whether it's because I've moved several times or whether it's been in the sun, though it's had its hardcover on when I don't use it, and it's not a massive deal, you can barely even see, it's barely visible, but because I know it's there, it's just a little bit uncomfortable and upsetting, but that is another reason. That's another criticism for you. So yeah, I've had no really big issues with this machine at all. So thank you for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to see more videos like this, please give it a thumbs up and also hit that subscribe button. You can also follow me on Instagram and Facebook, and I also have a Patreon for you to go and support me. I post behind the scenes and exclusive content just for you to get your hands on. I'll also put images of the stitches that you can do with this machine and some other little bits of information on there, so hit the link down below to see all that. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.